morning. My name is Jim Creamer, and you're listening to Mortgage Savvy Radio, the show that keeps you informed and helps you make better decisions when it comes to purchasing or financing your home. Thanks for listening today. Our special guest this week is Lisa Wolter. She is the Executive Director of the Orange County affiliate of Susan G. Komen for the Cure. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we're excited to have Lisa on the program with us today. We have a great program for you today. In addition to Lisa, we also have two great featured properties, and as a matter of fact, they are right beside each other on the same street. Their open houses are today from 1 to 4 p.m. This is new construction in Costa Mesa. We'll talk about these homes in more detail later on in the program, but feel free to check them out right now. We have pictures and details on our Facebook page at facebook.com/SwiftLoans. Also, later on in the program, I'm going to talk about appraisals. Do you know why you got that value on your most recent appraisal that maybe didn't make sense? Well, we're going to talk about how foreclosures and short sales and REOs are impacting appraisals these days. Hopefully that'll give you a little bit better insight on appraisals. Now, as I mentioned last week, we're giving away a brand new iPad on this program when we hit 500 likes on our Facebook page. So please help us get to that goal. We'll give the iPad away on the Facebook page to some lucky person. Hey, the odds are 1 in 500. Those are pretty good odds. Also, please remember, we love listener questions. We want to answer your listener questions here on the show each week. You can post those questions on our Facebook page, and when you go to do that, hit the like button, by the way. The Facebook page is facebook.com/SwiftLoans, or send an email to me at radio@jimcreamer.com. I will answer every question, and I'll give you something nice if we answer your question on the air, and that something nice will come from one of the local businesses here in the Newport Mesa area. So let's take a look at the Freddie Mac survey of lenders that they come out with each week on Thursday. It's basically an average rate for a 30-year fixed and a 15-year fixed, taken by Freddie Mac from lenders across the country. And this week, the Freddie Mac survey says that the average 30-year fixed rate was 3.39%. That is up slightly from 3.36% last week. And the average 15-year fixed rate was 2.7%. That's also up slightly from 2.69% last week. The 30-year fix is with 0.7 percentage points, basically, in lender fees, and the 15-year fixes with 0.6 in lender fees. That doesn't include third-party fees, so that's just the lender side of the fees. Now, rates, I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. We're watching all-time lows and refinancing like crazy and hoping that the rates are going to go even lower. And actually, this week on Friday, we actually touched on the low end of where that range is for the lowest rates ever. And here we go, going into Monday, with the possibility that we're going to be, getting to those super low rates again. We still have news about Spain, coming out of Europe and impacting rates. We have unemployment numbers. I guess the Labor Department news is the main driver of what's happening with interest rates for us. However, it seems to be that the economy is getting better slowly. It's the buying of these mortgage-backed securities, I think, that's keeping rates really, really low for us right now. It doesn't seem like there's an end in sight anytime soon for that. So the economic news does have an impact. It's the traders really that are making the biggest impact on where rates are going from one day to the next. So going into next week, here we are, going into next week with great rates and possibly getting to a point next week where we are touching on, again, some of the lowest refinances we've ever had, the lowest purchase rates we've ever had. That is super exciting news. Now, as far as Swift loan funding rates go, this week we're not at the top of our rate ranking, but our lenders are. and they're offering 30-year fixed rates with no closing costs through us at 3.125%. That is APR, no closing costs, okay? And the 15-year fixed is 2.75 now, but what's different about the 15-year fixed this week is that not only are all the closing costs paid by the lender, but they're giving back additional money on top of that. Remember, we've talked about lenders getting more generous at the lower rates. Well, that's happening at the 2.75. It's now starting to happen more at the 2.625. And I'm starting to see, as of Friday, 2.5% on the 15-year fixed showing up on rate sheets. There you have it. Lenders are getting more generous with their lender credits and their pricings. So bond prices, they're really good. And you can actually go to our website at swiftloanfunding.com, plug in your information on our Fast Quote engine, and that engine's tied directly to the lender's wholesale rate sheets. You'll get live market pricing. You'll get quotes with all closing costs already factored in, and those again are the latest live lender rate sheets. Let's take a few minutes to talk about appraisals and what the appraisers are actually doing when they're appraising your property for a purchase or a refinance. They actually have some minimum criteria that they need to go by. They have to find comps within a 1 mile radius. 2 of the comps have to be within the last 90 days, 1 within the last 6 months. They also have to have 2 listings on the appraisal report. When it comes to quality of the property, I have people come to me and say, yeah, my house is going to be worth at least as much as or more than the rest of the houses in the neighborhood because I just upgraded my kitchen, or I have new carpet, or I have these great appliances, or whatever they say. Well, guess what? There are other properties in the neighborhood that also have those types of upgrades, and we are in the digital age. So every time an appraisal is done for an agency loan, when I say agency, I mean the loan ends up with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, those appraisals get updated, or uploaded, I should say, to a system called the UCDP. I don't know what it stands for, but it is a database that compiles all the information from all the appraisal activity that's going on in your neighborhood. So when your loan is run through, for example, the Fannie Mae automated underwriting system, which is one of the first steps in the process, that system actually does a check to see what the value is and how it compares to the value that we think it is. And it'll come back and it'll say, yeah, your $500,000 home in our database is actually worth $480, but it's okay. We'll still proceed at the $500,000. If the appraisal comes in at $500,000, we're okay with that. So this database is actually pretty huge, and it's growing, and it's providing some data, and so much so that oftentimes these agency loans, the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans, are giving what's called property inspection waivers when they do the pre-underwriting, and we don't even need to get an appraisal done. They just tell us your value is good enough, and we'll do the loan based on the value that you've assigned to the property during the pre-qualification. So that's interesting. Now, as far as REOs and short sales and foreclosures, first things first, REOs, banks have asked that appraisers try not to use these in the comps, but if there's nothing else, then they're going to have to be used. As far as, short sales and foreclosures. Foreclosures is kind of the same. If you're in a neighborhood, and neighborhood is everything these days when it comes to value. If you're in a neighborhood where there's lots of short sales and lots of foreclosures, and that's what your neighbors have been doing, man, your appraisal is going to be a tough one. Foreclosures are used only if that's the only data that the appraiser can get their hands on. Short sales, now, they're a little different. They are categorized as a distressed sale, but what it technically means is that the sales price of the property was actually less than the loan that was on the house. And the short sale component comes in where the realtors had to go back to the lender and say, look, we have a buyer for this house, but you have to bring your loan down low enough to where it gets paid off from the sale. So that's what a short sale basically is. Now, those are technically distressed sales. They can have an impact on your property, but it's not as much of an impact if you have an active and a good neighborhood of sales going on there. Our guest today is Lisa Wolter. She's the executive director of the Orange County affiliate of Susan G. Komen for the Cure. Lisa, welcome to the program today.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell us a little bit about Susan G. Komen for the Cure.
Well, it's an organization that is now 30 years old. In fact, just last August was the 30th anniversary of the death of Susan G. Komen. She was a young woman when she passed away from breast cancer, and it was her sister, Nancy Brinker, who said, as her dying declaration to Susie, "I will do everything I can to defeat this disease." So think back 30 years. At that time, people really didn't talk about breast cancer. It was a hidden disease. People even thought it was contagious. They didn't understand what breast cancer was. And of course, even saying the words breast cancer were kind of risque or something. So Nancy Brinker went from there. She founded the organization in Susie's name, in her sister's honor. She started fundraising right from the get-go, and it's great to hear Nancy tell this story. The first fundraiser she did, the newspaper would not print the words breast cancer. So 30 years ago, not wanting to talk about breast cancer in public, the treatments for breast cancer were incredibly invasive, radical mastectomy. There really wasn't reconstruction, massive radiation, typically following up that. Radical mastectomy, just one kind of chemotherapy. It was really devastating. And at the time, only about 70% of women survived breast cancer. So fast forward to 30 years later, here we are in our 31st year, and there are 2.8 million breast cancer survivors in the United States today. And that's what we want. We want women to be able to survive breast cancer. Treatments are better. Early detection, women are much more aware that they should be getting mammograms every year. And the organization, Susan G. Komen for the Cure, has affiliates in every state of the United States.
How large is it?
Well, there are 126 affiliates in the United States and Europe, Italy, Germany, and we have projects in Africa, in China, Saudi Arabia. We're really taking the breast cancer message of early detection and appropriate treatment around the world. So
that's incredible.
Nancy has really made good on her promise.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how did you get involved with the organization?
Well, I am an advocate for women's health, and that has really been the arc of my career. I believe that every woman should have access to detection. Every woman should know about their family history. They should be aware that they are at risk for breast cancer just by being a woman and by growing older. And I want to make sure that women have access to treatment when they are diagnosed. So I came to the Orange County affiliate 7 years ago. We